where Imam Abu Hanifa stopped doing that. He stopped arguing with people. And it's such a beautiful point here, because his son's name was Hamad also, Rahimahullah, who was a scholar himself. The students started taking up that understanding that, yeah, let's go debate, let's go refute, let's go argue with the atheists and the secularists and this person and that person. So Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah used to forbid them. What's going on? And so his son Hamad said, how can you forbid us when you used to do this in the past? And Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah said such a beautiful statement that I hope, inshallah, that I can translate it and put it on all the discussion boards on the internet, everywhere on the internet, so people understand before they get into their debates. He said, كُنَّا نُنَاظِرْ وَكَأَنَّ عَلَىٰ رُؤُوسِنَا الطَّيْرِ مَخَافَةَ أَن يَزِلَّ صَاحِبُنَا. He says that we used to argue. And he's saying like, it was almost as if the birds were on our heads, meaning their nervousness of fear that their friend that they're arguing with is going to make a mistake and slip in his argumentation and become kafir for what he's saying. He said, we were so afraid that, like, the love and the fear for that brother that they were arguing with, that they would make a mistake. He says, وَأَنْتُمْ تُنَاظِرُونَ وَتُرِيدُونَ زَلَّةَ صَاحِبُكُمْ. He said, it's the opposite. You argue and you are hoping from your heart that the person you are arguing with will be mistaken and will slip and fall into kufr. You're hoping for it. That's when we argue, we hope the person will be wrong. We want them to slip and fall. So he continues, he said, مَنْ أَرَادَ أَنْ يَزِلَّ صَاحِبَهُ فَقَدْ أَرَادَ أَنْ يُكَفِّرْ صَاحِبَهُ. He said, whoever wants that their companion, the one that they're arguing with, slips, truly has made the intention, hoping that their companion will become kafir. And then he continued, وَمَنْ أَرَادَ أَنْ يُكَفِّرْ صَاحِبَهُ فَقَدْ كَفَرَ قَبْلَ أَنْ يُكَفِّرْ صَاحِبَهُ. And whoever wants their companion to fall into kufr, as they themselves have fallen into kufr before their companion has fallen into kufr. And so Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, and he also continued explaining that later on when he saw the people that used to debate, if you really look at them and the lives that they lived, and we're talking about like in Iraq, Muslims basically that had gone to an extremist level in their argumentation. And others may have gone like totally to a very, very extreme level. He would say that if you look at their actions, they're not people that fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their actions are confused, their amal is messed up, and they don't follow the Quran, they don't follow the Sunnah, they don't follow what the ulama had mentioned. It's just their hawa. And he said, so I looked at this and looked at the legacy of the ulama from the Sahaba, their teachers, and he found that this wasn't a tradition that they indulged in, the debating tradition of argumentation. And he said, so I left it. I left it. In fact, replying the misconceptions is a third stage. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أُدْعُ إِلَى سَبِيلِ رَبِّكَ بِالْحِكْمَةِ وَالْمَوْعِظَةِ الْحَسَنَةِ وَجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. There's three stages to our da'wah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands it. أُدْعُ إِلَى سَبِيلِ رَبِّكَ. And if you hear Ahl al-Masjid, the people that are, special enough to come to halaqat on Fridays and so on, if you're not going to be the ones to call to Allah, then who is it? The non-Muslims are not going to call to Allah. Don't expect the newspapers to invite people to Islam. Don't wait for them, they gave a good article about Islam, or PBS did this, or Fox. Don't wait for them. Because it's your duty. And it's a commandment, أُدْعُ إِلَى سَبِيلِ رَبِّكَ. Commandment, fard ayn, the person has to do it. Bil hikmah. What is hikmah? Wisdom. Person says, have wisdom in da'wah. What is wisdom? Wisdom is to know Islam. That is hikmah. Hikmah is knowledge. You have to know Islam in order to pass it on to other people. Don't know Islam, what are you teaching the people then? Hikmah number one, once you've learned Islam correctly, then you now pass it on in the best form, the best way you can get that message to the people. وَالْمَوْعِظَةِ الْحَسَنَةِ. You're doing the best maw'idha. People listen to you and they say, MashaAllah, maybe I don't agree with you, but that was a beautiful thing that you said. And you're teaching the people in the most beautiful and refined way, and they will argue after that. They have to. If they're not arguing, they're not being challenged, And so if you give a lecture and people say, wow, that's nice, and they don't say anything, probably the da'wah didn't go its full circle. You have to tell them, become Muslim. Then they will ask questions, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَجَادِلْهُمْ. Argue with them, بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. In the way that is better, in a way that is more refined. So the jidal does come in that stage, and it is part of the da'wah, but it's part of a more complete da'wah of knowledge and of maw'idah hasana, and the jidal has its etiquettes itself. Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, he stayed with his Shaykh Hamad for about 18 years. And now again, when you look at the timings, and you'll see many of the scholars did this. They'll say, Sahabtu fulan, for such and such amount of time. That I was with this person as a student for 18, 20, sometimes you see 30 years. And they might be great scholars that you know, but you might not have known how much time they spent to learning their knowledge. So 18 years, to the point where Abu Hanifa rahimahullah was hand in hand with his teacher wherever he went, taking care of him, the khidmah that he learned from his parents and also from the ulama around him. He applied this to his teacher. So he would take care of Hamad rahimahullah. To the point where Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, if he raised his hands making dua for his parents, he would always make dua for his teacher with his parents. That's the closeness. He would always make dua for his teacher. And if he ever went somewhere or came someplace, he would always ask permission from his teacher. You know, subhanAllah, one time I was in a lecture and someone raised his hand and I said, basically, we'll take questions at the end. But what this person wanted to do was seek permission before walking out of the masjid. And he shocked me. He said, because this is not the etiquettes that we learned, that we just walk out when someone's speaking about knowledge of Allah and His Messenger. We don't do that. And so we seek permission first before stepping away. One of the things that Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah used to do is that not only would he pray for his teachers, he used to pray for his students, which is a point that a lot of us forget also. And that's to pray for our students. So for example, maybe there's a Saturday school and a Sunday school. Maybe this is the place where the legacy of knowledge is happening. The teacher might have some problems with the students and think, how can I solve this? How can I solve this? But one of the things that the teacher may forget is to make dua for the children also. Here's a boy who's causing trouble in the class. Take a side, raise your hands. Ya Allah, bless this child with respect for his teachers. Just take a moment to do that. Instead of getting angry and giving them pink slips and kicking them out of the school, make dua for those students. After 10 years of studying with Imam Hamad, Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah wanted to start his own halaqah. And I noticed this in a lot of da'wah activities also, is that sometimes there's so much da'wah work to be done that some people haven't gone the full cycle of knowledge, but someone tells them, no, you have to help out. You have to give khutbahs. You have to do the Friday halaqah. We have 60 masjids in Houston and only, I won't say how many speakers you have, but not too many speakers. So then people who are not, for example, min ahl al-ilm, are pushed into that position by necessity. Meaning that the masjids and the schools are opening up faster than our production of scholars. And there is a fundamental mistake there. The scholars and our ulama from our own have to grow with the amount of demand that's there. So the person is pushed up into that cycle. And I would tell them, someone asked me, they say, Brother Muhammad, I'm running this whole da'wah in this whole city and so on, and I have the chance to study overseas. And I might leave this da'wah, the whole da'wah might collapse. You know what I would tell the person? I would say, go and study. Take 10 years if you want. Take 15 years. Take 20 years, but swear to Allah that when you're done, you will come back and enliven the whole da'wah. And you will take them in the right direction. Just make that promise, and you will do the people good. In fact, you will do better for them. And when we do the fiqh da'wah class, people would come, there's a camp I have to go to, I'm not able to come to the class. I would say to that person, do the people at the camp a favor, come to the class. Because what's the destination in their da'wah? Right? What's their destination? They will say, I have no idea. I do halaqas, I do conferences, I have no idea where we're going with this, but let's just do it. If the person doesn't know where they're going, so you tell them, for example, meet me at my house, and you leave. Okay, now at least he knows somewhere where he's going. But if he just goes, or no, he says, meet me for lunch. Sorry, that's a better example. Meet for lunch, and that person walks out. He says, what do? I don't know where I'm going. So he says, I'm just going to go on the road. Hopefully I will come across the restaurant where this brother is sitting at. Will he ever make it to that restaurant? Maybe after 500 years of going to every single restaurant and asking every person, if he had that much desire to actually find out. But usually he'll give up after realizing how lost he is. So if someone doesn't know the destination, so here's A, here's B, and they have to get from here to here. What's the destination? They have no idea. So they're circling around. And if you ever see someone driving down here and they don't know where they're going, would you know it? You would. You know why? Because the person number one would be driving slow. And they would be looking left and wrong. Oh, cars honking, man, and babe, get off the road. They know this guy has no idea where he's going. He does a U-turn. He goes to the